Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. Sonic was sent to Earth, and along with Tails he will have to face Robotnik and Knuckles to protect the Chaos Emeralds. Today we're going to recap the movies, Sonic 1 from 2020, and Sonic 2 from 2022. On Angel Island, a blue hedgehog named Sonic was born with special powers that everyone around him desired, and so he had to spend his childhood isolated with Longclaw, his guardian. Even though he is constantly being hunted, the little hedgehog ended up being careless and left tracks that a rival tribe used to locate his hideout. Knowing that it could be the end of Sonic, Longclaw starts to carry him away trying to escape, but is hit by an arrow that knocks her to the ground. Realizing they wouldn't be able to escape that way, the Guardian uses a teleport ring that opens a kind of portal to planet Earth and orders Sonic to go, while she stays to distract the Echidna tribe. Once on Earth, little Sonic spent long years completely alone in his den, while he was spying around the daily lives of the population of the small town of Green Hills, Montana. One of those people he's been watching is Sheriff Tom, a police officer frustrated by low crime in his area, who wants to move to the San Francisco department where he will have more serious cases to work on. After another sad day for just snooping around without bonding with people, Sonic starts to run to distress, but he ends up breaking the supersonic barrier, causing a huge electromagnetic pulse that leaves all nearby states completely without electricity. Not knowing what it is, the military leaders of the American government meet and decide to send Dr. Robotnik to investigate the cause. Once he arrives in Green Hills with his men, the mad scientist uses his ultra-tech drones to search the entire region. As soon as they go into action, the devices find a rather strange footprint in the forest, and upon analyzing it, Robotnik notices that the trail does not belong to any known creature of the animal kingdom. Without knowing exactly what it is, the doctor sends the military to look for more tracks in the forest with the sniffer dogs. Realizing that he is being hunted, Sonic runs to his den to get his bag of teleportation rings and go to the other planet, but he is located by the search team and needs to go elsewhere in order to teleport. Sonic then runs to Tom's garage, believing it would be safer there. But when he enters the place, he ends up making too much noise, catching the attention of the policeman, who believes that a raccoon has invaded his house. Tom takes a tranquilizer gun and goes to the garage. However, when he gets there, he is startled when he realizes that the raccoon is actually a blue hedgehog that walks on two legs and talks. Scared, the policeman accidentally ends up shooting and hits a dart in the leg of Sonic, who starts to lose his balance. While very dizzy, the blue hedgehog sees Tom's San Francisco shirt and drops the ring that was on his hand, opening a portal straight to a building at the top of the city. To make things worse, when Sonic passes out, he ends up letting the bag of rings fall straight through the hole, meaning his only way to escape planet Earth is more than 2,000 kilometers away. As if that wasn't bad enough, as soon as Sonic awakens, Dr. Robotnik arrives at Tom's house after following the trail the hedgehog left behind. Distrusting the scientist's true intentions, the policeman hides Sonic in the attic and prevents the stranger from entering the residence. However, Robotnik activates his drones to scan the house, while he distracts Tom. In the attic, Sonic disguises himself as a ball while the drones search the place. However, he realizes it's not a good idea and starts to roll out of his hiding, only to fall down the stairs and crash into the kitchen counter, alerting the scientist with the noise. With his suspicions practically confirmed, the villain breaks into the house, but the only thing he finds is a raccoon eating a cake. Thinking he might have been mistaken, Robotnik turns to leave, but ends up seeing a blue thorn in the trash, confirming his suspicions that a strange creature really is in the residence. The doctor then calls one of his artillery drones and threatens to take Tom's life if he doesn't deliver the hidden creature, and fearing the policeman will get hurt because of him, Sonic comes out of hiding. As soon as he sees the blue hedgehog, the villain gets very scared and lets his guard down. Tom then takes advantage of the moment to punch Robotnik's face, who instantly passes out. After the hit, the drone starts shooting at the two, but Sonic manages to jump on top of the device, slowing the thing down and giving Tom the chance to break it with a very powerful bowl. After all this confusion, the policeman takes the chance to escape and runs to his car. In the vehicle, Sonic explains to Tom about his plan to escape to the Mushroom Planet, as well as talking about the ring's power to teleport people anywhere they can imagine. Not knowing how to get to San Francisco, The Blue Hedgehog asks the policeman to take him to the city, and as he has already been involved in all this madness, Tom ends up accepting the mission. After waking up, Robotnik manages to locate the duo and sends one of the tanks from his armory to pursue them. As soon as he manages to reach them, the vehicle shoots a harpoon that passes between the two and hits the dashboard of Tom's car. Sonic then counters the attack by turning into a ball and hitting the scientist's tank full on impact. Robotnik uses his plan B and sends a drone the size of a fly after them, but despite being small, this robot is extremely overpowered and manages to slice through the roof of the car with a laser beam. Despite being completely lethal, this drone is quite fragile, and because of that, Sonic is able to break it with ease. However, with that they fell into the villain's trap. This device is actually an adhesive bomb that is almost impossible to remove. After some time, trying to release the explosive from his hand, Sonic finally succeeds, but he doesn't get away in time and is hit by the explosion that seriously injures him. With his partner extremely injured, Tom decides to take him to his sister-in-law's house where Maddie, his wife who works as a veterinarian, is staying. Even with her experience, the woman has never seen a creature like Sonic, and because of that, she has no idea how to help him. But after some time trying to revive him, she finally manages to get him to wake up. In his truck, Robotnik uses his supercomputer to analyze Sonic's thorn and discovers that the hedgehog is a source of unlimited energy. With that, his aim now is no longer simply to eliminate him, but capture him to use his energy, in addition to experimenting with his body. In downtown San Francisco, Tom along with Maddie and Sonic, now fully recovered, manage to reach the top of the building and finally find the bag of rings. However, as they are saying their goodbyes, Dr. Robotnik arrives in his ship to stop him from leaving. Trying to get the humans out of the crossfire, Sonic has the bright idea of pushing them off the top of the building, and as they're falling, he starts moving so fast that things around him seem to be in slow motion. In this way, he uses his super speed to repel the drone's missiles and destroy them one by one. However, as his ship is being powered by the Blue Hedgehog's thorn, Dr. Robotnik manages to move at the same speed and shoots Sonic that knocks him out of the building. While free-falling along with Tom and his wife, the Hedgehog takes one of the rings and manages to open a portal that leads to a hay mountain in Green Hills to cushion it, but he ends up missing the passage and falls right into the street along with the others destroyed drones. Despite falling from a big height, the Blue Hedgehog manages to escape unharmed and tries to flee, but is pursued throughout the city. Realizing he won't be able to run away, Sonic starts using the rings to open portals that lead to several parts of the world. However, Robotnik manages to accompany him through the portals, until they arrive in the middle of the Sahara Desert where the Hedgehog takes advantage of the sand to run in circles, causing a huge dust storm that makes the scientist lose sight of him. Sonic then takes advantage of the doctor's momentary blindness to climb the Pyramid of Giza and opens a portal to Green Hills at the top. However, as he stopped running, the sand begins to subside and Robotnik hits Sonic with a missile as he passes through the ring, causing him to fall into the street already totally unconscious. In the middle of the street, Tom finds the bag with the rings, and as his friend is about to be killed, he decides to open a portal behind the villain and lands a powerful punch on Robotnik. The two then get into a physical fight, but Robotnik manages to take down the policeman, who gets injured in the fall and is unable to continue fighting. At that moment, Sonic wakes up fully furious at hurting his friend and now goes into his full fury mode, using his electromagnetic powers to damage the ship, removing the boost from its thorn. Robotnik then starts shooting his missiles at Sonic, but he manages to dodge it with extreme ease and land several blows on the ship. Tom takes advantage of the distraction to open a portal behind the crazy doctor, and Sonic immediately understands the plan. He lands a hit that sends Robotnik and his ship straight to the Mushroom Planet. With the supervillain finally defeated, things have calmed down, and Sonic decides to remain here on Earth, along with his friends Tom and Maddie who have decided to remain in Green Hills. After the battle in Green Hills, Dr. Robotnik spent tireless days alone on the Mushroom Planet, losing his sanity over time. Despite being totally crazy, he spent all this time trying to develop his experiments with Sonic's thorn, but this ended up catching the attention of Knuckles, who caught the electromagnetic pulse and used one of the portal rings to go to him. It turns out that Knuckles is an echidna from Angel Island, the same place where Sonic was born, but from a rival tribe. As he also has access to the teleportation rings, Knuckles decides to form an alliance with the scientist who is now crazier than before and brings him back to Earth to face their common enemy, the Blue Hedgehog. In Green Hills, Tom and his wife go to a wedding in Hawaii using one teleport ring to go and one to return. During the event, they leave Sonic alone in the house, but in the middle of the night, the power is cut off and the Hedgehog quickly realizes that he is not alone when Dr. Robotnik breaks down the door of the house. Even without understanding how the villain managed to get back, the Hedgehog immediately tries to attack him, but the scientist manages to dodge, and who takes his place is Knuckles, who lands a big punch on Sonic that makes him fly to the other side of the house, destroying everything along the way. Despite having gotten stronger in that time interval, Sonic is much weaker than his rival, and even trying to attack him with all his power, the Hedgehog is stopped with a single hand. Even with his powers, Sonic is easily subdued by his enemy, but just as he is about to be eliminated, he is saved by Tails, a two-tailed fox who runs over Knuckles with a police car. The Blue Hedgehog then seizes the opportunity and gets into the vehicle to escape. While they are being chased by Knuckles, Tails tells Sonic about who the red creature is that is trying to kill him, as well as telling him about the villain's goal, which is to find the Master Emerald, a gem with the power to make everything bearer imagine in reality. But who is Tails anyway? He is a super intelligent fox who develops many gadgets. The yellow fox lived isolated in his village, but he felt the pulse that Sonic caused, and as he knew about the Echidna's plans, he decided to come ashore to warn the Blue Hedgehog. As soon as Tails finishes telling this whole story, Knuckles finally catches up to them and smashes the roof of the car with a single punch. Realizing that they will be caught if they stay there, the fox uses its two tails as if it was a helicopter and carries Sonic away, causing the car to fall off a cliff along with Knuckles, who is saved by Robotnik's drones. Finally safe, Sonic tries to understand why his enemies think he has something to do with the gem, and when looking at the map the Long Claw gave him before sending him here, an hologram of the owl appears to him and explains that he sent him to Earth to protect the emerald, saying that the map has the clues that lead him to the object. Following the map, Sonic discovers that the first clue is in Siberia and decides to go there. Upon arriving in the middle of the snowy desert, the two begins to walk around the region following Tails' device that detects the emerald's powers, but the storm is affecting the device signal, and for that, they decide to take shelter in a building they find in the middle of nowhere. They then wear human clothes to try to disguise themselves and enter the place that is actually a bar. Inside, Tails is so intimidated by people and so afraid of being discovered that he ends up passing out. As soon as the orange fox regains consciousness, he and Sonic sit at the table and make their order using the translator also created by Tails, but the translation is not accurate, and because of that, they end up offending the people at the bar, who decide to throw them into the fire. Desperate, the fox starts yelling something in the local language, and by accident, he ends up challenging the regional champion to a dance contest, and they already start being humiliated. Tails decides to use his gadgets and create several holographic clones, and along with Sonic gives a real show, thus winning the battle and gaining the right to spend the night there. With the end of the storm the next morning, the two continued their journey, and after long hours walking through the icy fields, they finally found the cave that the map indicated. After solving some puzzles, they finally get the compass that points to Emerald. But as soon as they get the item, Robotnik arrives on the scene and starts firing his missiles at the duo. However, Sonic manages to stop the missiles in the open air and play back against Knuckles, who manages to dodge at the last second. With the explosion, the frozen cavern begins to collapse, and in order not to be buried, Sonic and Tails run outside and separate, with the fox fleeing through the air and the hedgehog skiing down the mountain, as he is chased by drones and Knuckles. The Blue Hedgehog once again uses his super speed to leave things in slow motion and takes the opportunity to destroy all the devices of the Robotnik, but Knuckles is still behind him. After some time of running down the mountain, Sonic ends up at the end of the trail and almost falls off the huge cliff, but the bag with the rings is not so lucky and disappears into the snow. Without being able to teleport and flee, Sonic begins to face Knuckles, but Tails arrives and manages to immobilize his opponent with one of his inventions. Taking advantage of the moment, Sonic throws the compass for the fox to take to America, while he stays to fight with the enemies. However, Dr. Robotnik manages to get the object in the air, hitting Tails, who faints in the process. With their goal completed, Knuckles joins the scientist, and together they begin to follow the compass until they reach the emerald. However, the missile's shockwave caused a huge avalanche, and without being able to teleport, Sonic takes the unconscious Fox and calls Tom, who is in the middle of the wedding, while the Hedgehog skis trying to escape the snow. Sonic's plan is for the policeman to use the teleport ring he has on him to open a portal to get them out of there before they are buried. Knowing the urgency of the situation, Tom decides to wear the ring in the middle of the ceremony, opening the way for the Hedgehog and Fox to escape. However, the portal didn't close fast enough, and because of that, there is now tons of snow in the middle of Hawaii, which totally destroyed the decor and buried the guests in snow. Finally safe, Sonic tries to revive Tails, but is trapped in a containment net. It turns out that the entire ceremony was nothing more than a government trap to capture Tom and the Blue Hedgehog. After the policeman is arrested, Maddie's niece finds Tails' backpack and gives it to her aunt, who decides to use the Fox's creations to rescue her husband along with her sister. As they begin to infiltrate the hotel where the boys are trapped, the sisters are spotted by one of the agents who threatens to arrest them, but Maddie uses one of Tails' gadgets that makes the officer fly away. And then, after getting past dozens of guards, they finally manage to free the trio. In the middle of the ocean, Knuckles and Robotnik finally manage to find the island where the compass points, and when they get there, they use the object to activate a kind of dungeon in the middle of the ocean. As he is the only one who can stop them, Sonic starts running across the water using all his speed, until he finally finds the structure. Inside the dungeon, Knuckles and Robotnik go through dozens of insane traps, and finally arrive at the last stage, a gigantic maze. After overcoming the obstacles, the duo arrived at the emerald, and believing that the echidna is no longer useful, Robotnik decides to eliminate it to keep the artifact just for him. However, Dr. Robotnik is stopped by Sonic, who literally falls from the ceiling and thwarts the scientist's plans. With the emerald a few meters away, the two rivals from Angel Island begin their great final battle. And despite having taken a beating in the first fight, Sonic is now much more determined, thus having a much more balanced fight, where both can land several decisive blows. In the midst of the battle, Dr. Robotnik takes the opportunity to approach the emerald and pick it up. However, Knuckles immediately stops his fight, saying that it was not the deal, but the scientist mocks him for not realizing that he was unreliable. The villain then touches the emerald, releasing enormous power, causing a shockwave so huge that it throws the two of them away and completely collapses the place that begins to fill with water. Sonic starts to run outside trying to escape, but when he realizes that Knuckles has been crushed by a rock and will drown, he decides to go back to help him. The Hedgehog then goes to the bottom and, even with difficulty, manages to free the echidna, which begins to swim to the surface. However, as Sonic cannot swim, he stays at the bottom until he almost passes out without oxygen, but is saved by Knuckles, who return to rescue him. After fleeing the place, Sonic tries to comfort the echidna, who is quite sad to have been betrayed, and after some time talking, they are rescued by Tails, who takes them back to civilization with his plane. In his secret base, Dr. Robotnik, who is now practically omnipotent, is surrounded by the army with tanks and all kinds of weapons. However, now the scientist is on another level and is able to dismantle the city's vehicles with only telekinesis, transforming the metal parts into a gigantic mega robot that he can control with the power of his mind. Seeing the overpowered robot, the military quickly realize they don't stand a chance and begin to retreat, while evacuating the city. But luckily for them, the trio consisting of Sonic, Knuckles and Tails finally arrive in Green Hills. Without a well-defined plan, Knuckles jumps from the plane, while Sonic and Tails stay aboard, taunting the villain, who fires hundreds of missiles, managing to hit the Hedgehog and knock him off the plane. On the ground, Knuckles starts running towards the giant robot and lands a punch in his hand so hard that Robotnik himself can feel the force of the impact. In the air, Tails uses his plane's artillery to strafe the metal shell of Eggman's giant robot, but fails to do any damage and has his plane shot down by the mustachioed Big Boss. While Tails is down, Sonic manages to climb on the missile that knocked him down and redirect it straight into the villain's knee. But to their dismay, despite having suffered some damage, the robot is far from defeated. Reunited again, the trio begins to come up with a plan, while massacring the scientist's drones. After they've all been destroyed, Sonic decides to get Robotnik's attention and lure him away from the city, while Tails and Knuckles begin climbing the big robot. At that moment, Tom and Maddie steal a car and start driving towards the battle to try to help in some way. Unaware of the trio's plan, Robotnik chases the blue hedgehog through the streets of Green Hills, while trying to hit his target with his powerful laser beam. Despite being extremely fast, Sonic ends up getting hit, and when Robotnik is about to eliminate him, Tails manages to get to him and multiplies himself to distract him, making way for Knuckles, who prepares a punch so hard that he literally manages to rip the gem off from inside the villain. After the hit, Eggman loses control of the robot, which starts to fall. During the fall, Knuckles and Tails begin to slide out and are thrown out along with the emerald, passing out as they fall to the ground. A few meters away, Sonic regains consciousness, and when he realizes that the jewel is nearby, he begins to walk with great difficulty trying to reach it. But while he is stunned, Dr. Robotnik manages to recover from the blow, and finally, raises his giant robot. With his robot extremely overpowered, the villain starts running towards Sonic to crush him and retrieve the emerald. However, when the hedgehog is about to be trampled, Tom and Maddie finally catch up and rescue him at the last second, but they are still hit and end up flipping over. As his last hope, Sonic decides to use the emerald's power to defeat Robotnik. But after Knuckles' punch, fall and rollover, the jewel can't resist and shatters right in his hand. Happy with his triumph, Robotnik surrounds them with fire and prepares to crush the trio. However, at that moment the 7 Chaos Emeralds that were inside the jewel begin to react with the hedgehog and merge with him, leaving him mega powerful. In this new form, the blue hedgehog gets a golden fur and gains practically infinite powers, managing to rip the Megazord's head off with extreme ease. Not having a chance in a fair fight, Robotnik tries to distract Super Sonic while he prepares a punch from his colossal robot, but the golden hedgehog manages to stop the Megazord's gigantic fist with a single hand without making the slightest effort. He then snaps off both of the robot's fists and completely destroys it in the blink of an eye, finally defeating Dr. Robotnik once and for all. With the fight over, Sonic decides to drop the 7 Chaos Emeralds, giving up his powers completely. Knuckles then takes the remains of the Master Emerald and repairs it, making a pact with Tails and Sonic to protect